2:41 p.m. New York time, Monday, February 6th, 2017. Hope everybody had a great weekend. For those who may have watched the Super Bowl last night, wow, what a crazy game. Unbelievable, actually, but so much fun to watch. So hopefully you got a chance to do that or something else enjoyable. So anyways, I just want to make a quick video on a couple of things coming up later this evening, New York time. And that is right here, 9 p.m. New York time, Kiwi dollar, inflation expectations, and then an hour and a half later we have the Aussie cash rate and RBA statement. All right, so first of all, on the Kiwi, there is no forecast for this particular metric. As you can see, there's nothing here. Last time it was 1.7%, which is their inflation expectation quarter over quarter. And obviously, inflation is a measure of the economy's strength, and higher inflation generally leads to rate hikes, which is positive for the currency. Because when inflation goes up, it shows that the economy is heating up, and the central bank will worry that it's heating up too much, so they'll raise rates in order to slow things down. But that's a leading indicator of economic growth, and so it's positive for the currency. Plus, it raises the interest rate, which makes it more attractive for investors to invest in the currency because the interest rate's higher. A lower inflation reading means lower currency prices, not as much attraction to the currency. It suggests economic slowdown, etc., etc. So I'd have to go back and look, but I would say that the Kiwi Central Bank's inflation target's probably around 2%. That's what most of them are at, around 2%. So we'll see where it comes in. Again, there's no expectation. So I will be watching the news wires leading up to that event in order to, try to figure out what it's going to do. But we'll look at the charts in a second. And then at 10:30 p.m. you have the Australian dollar cash rate and RBA statement. Now on the cash rate, they're not expected to change it. They probably won't. They'll leave it at 1.5%. So then, as usual, that will make the statement the key factor here. And the Aussie, as you know, has been very resilient. And a lot of the analysts, when I was just reading some of the early news wires about it, was saying that the Royal Bank of Australia probably will try to do a little bit of jawboning on their currency, try to jawbone it down a little bit. They have some concerns about what some of the economic readings that have come out recently, as well as maybe being a little concerned that it's appreciated a little too much lately. So they probably won't change the cash rate either way, but the statement could potentially strike a cautionary dovish tone if what the analysts are saying are correct. And so again, we'll look at the charts in a second. So that's just something to keep in mind with both of these reports coming out later. So just running to the charts here briefly. So this is the Aussie Swiss. Now I don't always trade this pair, but I do like to look at it for analysis purposes. I don't trade it a lot, although I do trade it, but there are other pairs that are more pip rich, and so that's why a lot of times I don't trade it, because there aren't a lot of pips with this pair. But I like looking at it because, again, the Swiss is kind of a neutral currency, so anything against the Swiss always gives you, in my opinion, a more plain view of what the leading currency is actually doing. Like, the Aussie yen is very much driven by, a lot is driven by the yen. The Aussie dollar is very much driven by what the dollar does, and both of those have had their issues lately, sentiment-wise. So, whereas the Swiss is pretty much quiet and neutral, not really anything going on with it. So this would be one of the pairs I'd go to look at. So looking at this, this labeling was from a previous move, and but I left it up here because I still think it's valid. This was an old move up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC down, and I think maybe this was another push up. Maybe this was the wave 5 of this whole thing. and looking at this particular pair, there's some conflict with the Aussie, and I'll go through this in a second, because to me, this is potentially, this move down here is potentially an ABC correction, and that the Aussie will continue up again. This again looks like an ABC. You have this move up, now you have the CCI indicator kind of going down, spread apart, and so that's possibly suggestive of the Aussie correcting a little bit more down, then going back up. And just to get a measurement of this ABC, that's about 50 pips down, and then over here, again 50 pips down. So whether this is an ABC or whether this is and this is going to turn up, we'll have to see. I'll be waiting to see what this looks like before the news comes out. Are we still pushing down? In which case, if it's still pushing down at the time the news comes out, then I would suggest that maybe we'll see it turn up. If this is kind of like moving sideways to up when the news comes out, then it's probably suggesting it's going to continue down. Now we still have about what time does it come out again? I say 10:30. So we still have almost 8 hours, and this is an hourly chart. So we have a lot more candles to go here. But you can see a little bit of uncertainty on the Aussie Swiss. The Aussie dollar, actually did not look at this prior to making the video. But again, I had some old labels on here suggesting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we've got more time to go here before the news comes out. But again, we're kind of moving sideways right now. So we'll have to see, what exactly this looks like once the next several candles come out on the hourly chart. Here we are in the hourly chart. We had this move down. This does look kind of corrective to me. It's all overlapping candles. And now we have this move back up. So a little bit of uncertainty. Now let's just finish up on the euro, on the Aussie, go to the euro Aussie. So of course this is, flipping it over the other way. And, we'll see, take a look here. So out to the weekly chart, you can see this this wedge we've been in, this, just decreasing wedge, and we're back down at the bottom edge of it right now. So of course, where is it going to go from here? Are we going to just see this break the wedge, come up, correct, and then break through finally? Or are we going to bounce off this wedge and keep going back up again and at least retest the top of this wedge? Which this is, about, measured at board, about 400 pips from here to here on the daily chart. And so we go down a little bit more. We're forming what could be a bottom right here. Again, we've got another 8 candles to go on this hourly chart. So if we see this, continue to kind of move sideways, that would suggest one thing. If it's going up strong at the time, that would suggest something else. So it's a little bit early to tell on the Aussie. I'm not really convinced what it's doing right now. I'm going to have to take a look later on before the news comes out, because there's a little bit of conflict. And again, it's going to completely depend on what the RBA statement is. So let's jump over to the Kiwi for a minute. This one, the Kiwi to me is a little bit more clear, and looking like the Kiwi wants to go down. So here's the Kiwi Swiss. Again, same reason with the Swiss to use it, because the Swiss is kind of a neutral currency. Out to the weekly chart, this looks to be, to me, this looks kind of corrected. And again, this is a weekly chart, so there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of time encapsulated. The Kiwi, from a long-term fundamental view is slightly bullish, but certainly within that, there could be a retracement. And you can see we're kind of back at these highs off this last move up. This does look a little bit corrective. We do have some divergence on the CCI on the weekly chart, where we've gone back up and tested this high, and the indicator has not followed. So that's a little bit bearish. You go down here a little bit again. This is the 4-hour chart. Here's the daily, the hourly chart. Again, we have about 6 hours, 6 more candles on this chart to play out. So I'll be looking, if this is kind of moving sideways to up, then I'd be looking for this to really fall back. And we'll see. All right, so again, the Kiwi to me looks a little bit more bearish, we'll see. Jumping over to the Euro Kiwi, again, just the opposite. And on the Euro Kiwi, here we are on the weekly chart. Just get rid of this line. This was from something else. On the weekly chart, again, we're in this falling wedge pattern here that we've been kind of respecting here. And lower one in here. And so we're kind of back at that, although we haven't quite made it down to the bottom yet on the weekly chart. But here on the 8 hour, this could be a 5-wave pattern, 1 2 3 4 5. So if we're heading into this news again with this still pushing down or correcting down, then I would expect this to turn back up, which would confirm the Kiwi Swiss to go down. Okay, just to take a look, here's the Kiwi Yen. Again, on the daily chart, we have this labeled pattern here. Looks like that this was complete. So again, if this is correcting going into the news, that would suggest it would go down. The Kiwi dollar looks very much like the Kiwi Swiss. Again, the Kiwi's been very strong. You see this, the Kiwi dollar on the 12-hour chart, just continue to move up, move up, move up. We do have some divergence, though. Again, note the CCI. We've made new highs up here, but yet the CCI is not keeping those highs. So that's suggesting some divergence. And so that's why my bias on the Kiwi is down on the news. So so that this inflation expectation number will come out under less than 1.7. Again, there's no forecast, so the number will print right here, and we'll just see. Now you can see on the recent releases here, it looks like this comes out this quarter over quarter, obviously, so every 3 months. It's come out pretty much in line with expectation the last 3 times. Is the actual, or equal to the last 3 times, and a couple of times before that. Actually, 4 out of the last 5 times it's come out as the same. So the expectation is that it's probably going to come out about the same, to 1.7. So if it comes out less than that, that will be considered bearish because there's no forecast. But again, yet it trends to kind of hit the same number. So if it comes out below and it's a miss, that's going to be taken pretty negatively, especially in light of the fact that the Kiwi has some bullish underpinnings. This would dampen those views if that comes out below expectations or below the previous reading, which was 3 months ago. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys, for those two. Again, we still have a lot of time between now and when the news comes out, especially for the Australian dollar. That one is not obvious to me right now. The Kiwi, again, I'm still keeping to a bearish presentation on that. And if it still looks like that, I'd probably be looking to trade into that event, going short on the Kiwi leading into it. But we'll see. I'm not going to make that commitment right now because it's still a little early. But the Aussie, I'm going to have to wait for more information, more candles to print, and try to get a beat on the banks and the brokerage houses, what they're thinking as far as the news. So that gets back to what I've told you in the past about going to FX, your Squawk, your news feeds like FX Pro Squawk, and getting an idea where they're looking, or something like Forex Live, and or FX Street, and reading some of these events going into this, and finding out what where it might end up. So that's it, guys. Hope that helped. I know it's not committal very much, but again, I don't make trade recommendations here anyway. It's just my view when I look at these major risk events about how the patterns look versus what the fundamentals and the sentiment is, and that's how I see it right now. But more to come on that, and maybe we'll make a follow-up video once these releases come out, and see how they actually ended up doing versus what I was expecting. So that's it, guys. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Any comments, drop them on YouTube here or wherever you might be seeing this. All right, guys. Talk to you later.